Welcome to the AVAIL podcast, where we dig deep and talk about the art of leadership. My name is Virgil Sierra, and today we're sitting down with Daniel and Tammie Floyd. Daniel and Tammie are the founding and senior pastors of LifePoint Church in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Since its start in 2005, the church has expanded 5 campuses ranging from Louisville, Kentucky to Stuttgart, Germany. In 2016, they launched LifePoint College to train and equip ministry leaders. In this episode, we'll discuss church planting, hard leadership decisions, flowing together in leadership, and so much more. So, lean in, leaders, and let's get started. Welcome back, everybody. It's another AVAIL podcast where we dig deep and talk about the art of leadership. I got my intro music going. I got my heart pumping. What's up, everybody? My name is Virgil Sierra, lead pastor of Vertical Church, a.k.a. Iglesia Vertical in South Florida. We're one church, 2 languages. I'm your host. Every week, where a new, hot, fresh episode of the AVAIL podcast comes out, and I get to sit with amazing leaders, amazing pastors, like the ones I'm with today, none other than Pastors Daniel and Tammie Floyd. Pastor Daniel, Pastor Tammie, I feel so happy to be here with you guys. How's it feel to be on the AVAIL podcast?
We're so excited to be with you today. Love what you guys are doing, the content you're putting out. It's fantastic.
Virgil, you have the best podcast voice on the planet, and I would like to have one church with 2 languages.
I know, right?
That is incredible. I mean, it's not happening, but amazing.
Well, the way you can come close is by coming to visit us at Vertical Church. We can arrange that.
Okay.
We can make plans for that.
Great.
I'll have to
be in the certain speaking service, but great.
Muy bien.
Love
Gracias.
it. Muy bien.
Pastor Daniel, it is a privilege to have you here. We've had you, Daniel, on the AVAIL podcast in the past. You've been an amazing and gracious guest. I know you're also a podcast host, so you're kind of on the other side of the mic. I love having that. Plus, you're with your wife. You guys lead and pastor together. My wife, Giseline, and I, we also lead and pastor together, which I love doing that. I would love for our AVAIL audience to get to know a little bit about you guys, about where you are, where you pastor. Before we jump into a few conversations about church planting when we don't know we're going to plant a church, about the most difficult decisions leaders make, people decisions, and then maybe get a little bit more personal on leadership preferences and styles between the Floyds. This is going to be fun. Yeah. So share a little bit about yourselves.
Absolutely. So we've been married 20 years next year, celebrating the big 20.
Big deal. Big deal.
4 kids, 16, 14, 7, and 5. So
boys on the end.
On one end, we have a driver. On the other end, we have a pre-K.
Girls in the middle.
Yeah, 2 boys, girls in the middle.
We need to live forever. Forever.
That is good.
Planted the church in 2005. We'll talk a little bit about that. But here in Fredericksburg, Virginia is where our broadcast is. Have 5 locations around the state, but just about an hour south outside of D.C. So if anybody's ever come in the D.C. area, we're not too far from
come
there.
see us. And it's fall here, and it's gorgeous. I'm just saying, Virginia knows how to do fall.
While we're recording this right now, Virginia is showing off. That's what I say.
Yes.
That's good. That's good. Well, another thing we have in common is our oldest is 15, and he has his driver's permit. I am the one who has been designated to be his coach and driving teacher. My wife has not yet gone in the car with him driving.
Yes, I understand.
Tammie, does that resonate?
Owen just got his license, and I've only been in the car with him twice, and I'm just going to go on the record to say I trust that everyone who rides with him is telling the truth and says he's a good driver.
He's a very good driver.
And I'll just follow him on Life 360 and make sure he's safe.
I love it. Well, I will say this. You guys are part of the ARC lead team. We are part ARC partners, my wife and I, and
thank you for doing
It's
that.
been so good, such a blessing to be part of a tribe where not only are healthy, life-giving churches being planted and healthy, life-giving churches being encouraged and supported, but community, unity, and even traction is happening with so many great pastors and leaders. So I just want to thank you guys for being part of the ARC lead team, which is connected also to this first conversation about church planting. Yeah. Some people say, man, God spoke to me. He showed me on the map. He spoke to me in a vision, a dream. This is our city, and we planted. We got our team together. It wasn't like that for you guys. How was it?
Not at all. I always admire people like that. I think, wow, what great faith that they would leave something and have that. And we've had the privilege of sending out several church planters from our church, have a real heart for church planting.
And their stories are very similar to that, which is beautiful.
Just God put a city on their heart, and they build a team and go. But we started, it was a small group of people that were already meeting and asked us if we would come lead the church, pastor the church. And our first response was no. I actually told her, I was like, I know I'm called to full-time ministry, but never to be a senior pastor. That's not my thing. I think I'm a good number 2 guy. I think I'll be a good executor of the vision, but I don't think honestly didn't think I was the weekly communicator either. That really made me nervous to think every 7 days I've got to give a message. So we came up, met with them. Of that 50 that were there, we met with a core team of about 12 and had this long conversation about what would it look like and our philosophy of church, and just if we were to lead a church, this is kind of in our mind's eye because we grew up in church, we'd served in churches.
We're pastors' kids.
Yeah, PKs. You kind of had an idea of maybe church could be like this or that. And Virgil, you're talking 18 years ago. I think, and I didn't have a lot of exposure. So ARC existed then. It was small. I didn't know anything about that.
Sure.
I went to, we both went to university. And so we knew about that kind of tribe a little bit. The only church growth stuff we knew about at the time, this will date us a lot, is Purpose Driven Church by Rick Warren.
Good stuff.
So all good stuff, but we had no exposure to what could be. And so we just kind of in our mind were like, maybe church could look like this, and maybe the focus could be that. And so anyways, that group of people said, we're all in, let's go. And so we started driving. I actually was finishing my MDiv, so we drove 2.5 to 3 hours every Friday to come to Fredericksburg. Had any meetings we needed to on Saturday, any outreach events. Sunday was there from set up to tear down, would set up. She'd go get coffee, the donuts. I'd go to this little bathroom, kind of wipe off the sweat, change my clothes, go preach, tear down, drive back 2.5 hours. Tammie worked as a middle school teacher all week. I went to seminary all week, and then we would do the same thing again. And we did that that was the first year of our church planting journey. So very unusual.
I have an interesting question to ask, and I would like to hear from both of you. We're talking about, that was 2005, 2006, right?
Yeah.
If you could go back to that little bathroom where you wiped off your sweat, if you could go back to that car, coming back with the coffee and the donuts right now, if you go back and talk to that pastor couple that were in the beginning steps of church planting, and you could give them some advice and encouragement, what would be some advice and encouragement? Which by the way, there's some probably aspiring church planters right now listening or watching this podcast, and some that are either starting a journey, thinking about it, praying about it. But what would you say to that 18 years ago Daniel and that 18 years ago Tammie?
It's a great question.
You're gonna get me all emotional here on the podcast.
No, I'm tearing up.
Yeah, I think that I would say to me, just stay faithful, keep going. Part of me wants to say, I would say your best days are ahead. Your greatest influence is ahead. But also when we reflect back on that time, we didn't have any children yet, but we did have very full lives, day to day. And there was a grace that God put on us in that season to where we didn't dread getting in the car on Fridays. Now, I will say leaving on Sundays was kind of a welcomed break, just knowing, Sunday evening we have a little breather before going back into the week. But we just began to miss being here and being a part of the people in their lives. And because there wasn't any social media or anything like that back then, we didn't have anything to compare it to. So the fact that people were coming every Sunday and people were beginning to bring their friends, and their friends were placing their faith in Jesus, and it's those things that keep you going back. And if God has called you to it, then it is those things that will happen, and lean into the wins, right? Like focus more in on the why of why they're doing it, rather than it's just too much, or it could be easier, or because we've actually gone back to that little bathroom in the Marshall Center. This past year, we took our staff, which is now larger than the church was. Our staff is larger than the church was when it started. And we went back to tell them the story of God's faithfulness. And when you are faithful to him and you do the right next step, and you just do what he's asked you to do, he will provide the resources, he will provide the people, and he will write the most beautiful stories.
Yeah.
So good.
I think similarly, I would say the same thing. I would say probably a couple of things. I think I would say if you don't quit, God will blow your mind. And I think I would say your personal life will dictate your public influence. So don't abandon that. Keep that. When you start out, it's I would guess, I know for us, you're just so desperate for God. You're so surrendered. You're young. There's a fire. There's a passion, and it's crazy, Virgil, because if you think about it, the thing that can cause you to get apathetic in that is the blessing of God.
Right.
Because the fruit of the ministry is the blessing of God. The growth is the blessing of God. The larger staff is the blessing of God. That's all God given. And that can become the very thing that makes you think you somehow built this. And so it's this odd thing that the blessing of God becomes the thing that keeps you from being so hungry for God and on your face and seeking him and knowing that it's, yes, grow your leadership. I'm a lifelong learner. I'm an avid reader. I am. I do a leadership podcast. We have a college. I am for all that for sure. And I would encourage people in that. But at the end of the day, you can be way competent, but if your soul isn't healthy and you're not staying reliant on God, you built this, you got us here. It's the whole Moses thing, right? If you don't go, I'm not going. We're not going unless you go with us, God. And I think that's what I would say. Hey, don't forget that your public life can never go as far as your private life.
That's so good.
I think too, we did a lot. We teach out of a lot of things we did wrong. But one of the things I think we did do right is that we took it very seriously from the very beginning. Every decision we made, every, and I'm not just talking about on Sundays and the weekends and leading up to, but I just mean in our personal life and in our private life with our friends. Like, we didn't even live in the city at the time that we planted, but we behaved like we lived in the city that we planted. Does that make sense? Because integrity matters. It matters. And as believers, we wear the name of Jesus. But as church planters, we also wear the name of the church that he has given us to steward. And especially in this day and age, like you have got to be above reproach in everything you say and in everything you do. And we teach our staff that as well, because they are watching. They're watching. And they might give church one more chance. And not that I don't have our church bumper sticker on my car, kind of for a reason, because I'm not always the best driver. And sometimes I make faces at people and I get like, rah! But we're not perfect, but, do your best. Just take it. It's serious. It's serious business, people's eternal salvation and their relationship with Jesus.
Yeah.
That's great perspective. I love having that little moment of just, man, what would you say? And because what you would say to your younger self is what you would say to a church planter today. And staying on this line, in a moment, I want to transition to the hardest decisions that a leader has to make, and a lot of the things that we're dealing with. But to wrap this moment up, I think that ARC brings something that can really help young leaders in churches, all of them for that matter, and or a good tribe, good Bible-based, sound, clear vision tribe really makes a difference. Can you guys just maybe touch on just the benefit and the blessing of being part of a tribe like ARC?
Yeah, so about 8 years ago is when we got connected. So for over half of our church planting journey, we were just kind of long rangering it. Not that we didn't have friendships, but we didn't really have a tribe or a community of people. We had a friend here, a friend there. We're voracious learners, so we'd call anybody. Can we come learn from you? Can we have lunch with you?
We're going to copy what you do.
Yeah, we're going to copy it and try to make it better and use it and call it ours. And so 8 or so years ago, we got connected with ARC, went to a conference, and just really felt at home amongst a group of people that had the heart of church planting and planting life-giving churches. And for us, it really became a lifeline because it took me a minute, honestly, Virgil, and you may understand this, listeners may understand this. There was such a spirit of generosity in the experience that I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. I was like, all right, when is the ask coming? Like, when are they going to want us to pull out a checkbook? Or, I've just been in enough environments, and it never really happened. It really was just like, hey, we want to serve you, bless you. If you want to partner with us, that's awesome. If you don't, that's cool. But we have great resources, and we want to help you find a new best friend in a relationship. And it's really been that for us. And now to be on the lead team and see that what we saw on the outside is just as good being on the inside. And we're so grateful for that's what we got. We came in as a partner church. So grateful for those listening that are partner churches like you guys that really believe in church planning, believe in helping fund someone's dream and get it off the ground. And now, over 1,000 churches that have been planted, 40 this year in 2023 while we're recording this. Hundreds of people on launch Sundays. I think this year over 700 people on launch Sunday alone came to faith in Christ. That's just one Sunday, the first Sunday of all these churches, new churches. And so, we found friends, we found resources, we have found wisdom. The ability to call someone down the street or across the state, or around the U.S. and say, hey, I'm dealing with this issue. I know you've had to deal with it before. Tell me what to do or give me perspective. That's just gold. And anyone listening that is long rangering it, man, I would just encourage you. If it's not ARC, find a tribe, find a group of people. Don't do ministry alone. It's too dangerous. Isolation is dangerous. It really is. It is dangerous to do ministry alone, and find the group that you feel like you can connect with and be a shared mission. And the other thing I love about ARC is we're all independent churches. Right. We're ARC isn't our denomination; it's our family. It's people that we've chosen to say, hey, let's lock arms and plant great churches.
I will say too, like, our ministry life changed forever when we became connected with them. If you were to read the AVAIL Journal from this quarter, I said this in our article, but our youngest, Jonas, is adopted. We adopted him at 5 days old. And as soon as we locked eyes on him, it was it. It was done. He was ours in heart and in, he literally came to our door like a stork on the porch. But as soon as we saw him, it was like we never knew life without him. It was that instant supernatural love that only God can do through the beauty of adoption. But that's how we felt when we got connected to ARC. It was this instant love, this instant feeling of family, this instant feeling and experience of we're in this together. But I think one thing that's really important to hear in that is that we went to the conference. We got phone numbers. We reached out to people. And there is a part that we have to play. We do not have to live ministry life alone. It is lonely because it's its own type of thing that not everyone can understand. But there are people who can understand and want to help if they know you need community and need help. Does that make sense? Like, I think sometimes I've done this in the past as a ministry leader. It's like, I don't have anybody. I'm so alone. There's nobody to talk to. Like, I planned my own personal pity party. And in reality, I actually do have people I can reach out to. It's jumping over the fear of putting myself out there, taking the risk of trying to build a relationship. And you don't click with everybody, and you don't have to. But there are some people that you will click and that you are supposed to be. We love the phrase divine flow. I think Pastor John Osteen is the one that I heard it from initially. And there are some people in the body of Christ that he has created for you to have a divine flow with. But you cannot find them if you do not put yourself out there and put yourself in an area to discover it. And ARC it's been such a gift. I don't really know how else to say it other than we're so grateful and honored. And we honor Pastor Billy Hornsby and Pastor Greg Surratt and Pastor Dino and all of those so many years ago that actually were starting this right around the same time we were starting our church. And to just be a part of the team now to help push the vision and bring awareness to what it is really such an honor to us.
Yeah, it is a blessing. We were able to do a special AVAIL edition in the spring of 2023, highlighting just the ARC and all the things the Lord has done and continues to do, which is a blessing. I love hearing that and how important it is to have a tribe that we're a part of, a family that we're a part of. I want to shift gears here to something that I think is going to help pastors and leaders. Pastor Daniel, you mentioned the hardest decisions a leader makes are what kind of decisions? What kind?
People decisions.
And the reality is, I would say these last couple of years, I mean, there's always people decisions and there's always issues. But I think those of us who have been pastoring in this season before 2020, during 2020, after 2020, and the obvious implications of COVID and all this, it's been an interesting ride and journey. And even now, so now it's not we're new pastors, we're fresh. Now it's 15 years in when this happens. Now some years after that. Talk to us a little bit about some of the challenges that you guys have been experiencing in this season, where it's no longer that 50, 100 member church where you guys were planting. Now it's multiple campuses, cities, even countries. And talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think it was Maxwell. I'll give him credit. I'm not sure. That said, you don't move at the speed of your dream, you move at the speed of your team. And
it sounds like something he would say.
It sounds like a Maxwellism. And that's 100% true. Like, the right team is everything. The right people around you are everything. And so not only, having the right people, recruiting, attracting all those kind of things, the right people. But once you have the team, it's having a well-oiled machine. I'm a massive college football fan. And you look at programs like Alabama and Nick Saban, you're like, how is he constantly, even though this isn't the best year they've had, but he's just constantly, not only is he producing national championships over and over again, but he's constantly producing assistant coaches that go out and become head coaches that are very successful as well. I mean, there's something he's figured out about team, about people, about personalities, about getting everybody rowing in the same direction towards a common vision. And I think one of the things that that I think everybody walked through, but I think that we're seeing the fruit of, in maybe not the best way right now, is some of the relational rifts and challenges that walking through the last few years created, and maybe not even the last few years, maybe I would say it this way, is the danger of letting relational rifts last too long. That as a senior leader, I think it's our job to make sure people around us are keeping short accounts. That the enemy loves to get in through a comment made or a gap created, and then begin to feed that narrative in your mind. And our job is to step in and be like, whoa. Let's not create some narrative in our mind about somebody. Let's sit down and have a conversation. And I'm really amazed, Virgil, honestly, at the number of leaders and I think it's a courage issue, honestly. I think it's a lack of courage that causes us to not sit down and go, hey, I need to tell you that when you did that, this is how it affected me, and I don't want anything getting built up in my heart towards you. And it sounds so simple, but for some reason we so avoid those conversations, and then when we do, it begins to create tension. And I think anybody a student of leadership knows that when you don't have that in a team, then you don't have trust fully. And when you don't have full trust, then you don't have authentic conversations. So you really slow the speed of the team down whenever little, even if they seem little in the moment. Tammie brought a proverb to my mind, or showed me the other day, that said, love covers an offense, but when a matter is repeated. Another translation says, when a matter is continually thought about or talked about, it tears apart friendships. And we can get alone in our offices or alone in our head and repeat one thing over and over and over, and then we blow it into something bigger than what it is, and it can begin to really tear relationships. I think we've seen that in leadership outside, just in church life, in relationships in general. We're so quick to cancel people, so quick to allow friendships to be torn apart, that really could have been rescued if at the first moment it had been addressed, or at the first moment we'd have brought someone into the conversation to go, I don't know how to resolve this, help me resolve this. And I think those are the people decisions that are so challenging, because it is so much easier with all the things we have on our plates as leaders. It's so much easier to live in artificial harmony. It really is easier.
It feels in the moment.
It feels like it. I don't have to address it. I don't have to have the hard conversations. I can just sit around. We can all smile like everything's good. I can give my report. You give your report. But internally, we're relationally not bringing our full self, because we haven't addressed the core issue of it. I know that's a mouthful, but
I think too that. Is it okay?
Yeah, I was going to say. I think it's important what you're saying, because as pastors and leaders, we have this great responsibility not only to lead ourselves and lead our family and our marriage, but a staff of people, and then leaders and volunteers. And when so many things are happening, people are going through so many things, and we also have a spiritual enemy who's in the mix. It can get tricky, right?
Yeah, for sure.
COVID was so personal. It was so personal, and everybody handled it a different way. And I would say we're experiencing the fruit of it, I feel like we're experiencing the aftermath of what came on all of us a few years ago. And I think as leaders too, it's important for us to be sensitive to the people that we are leading, because we don't all operate the same, and we don't all get past things the same, and we don't all deal with conflict the same. Some it's like, let's have a conversation. Let's, I think guys, don't you guys like fight and stuff? You like punch each other, or, like everybody resolves. Some do, you don't.
Yeah.
Okay. But everybody resolves conflict differently. Yeah. And I think the sign of a good leader is being sensitive to those people in your life and measuring, at least through prayer and thankfully the kindness of the Holy Spirit, asking the Lord to help you to see your people and see what they need and see the things that there seem to be gaps, especially with relational tension and relational issues, because it really does, it comes at the top, right? So we're at a place now where we need our staff and our leadership teams to help us lead the congregation. So we've got to make sure that our staff and our leadership team is in a healthy place so that they can help us lead the sheep, and it's just something that when you kind of get into ministry life is fast paced, right? It's just constant. Yes. It's so many different things. It's this one day and this one day and 12 things one day and something totally different the next. And we can get in the mix of that and then in the flow of that we just brush things off. And we just really have felt like in this season that there needs to be a moment, a pause to get this relational thing under control. Because the enemy is not creative. He's doing the same thing that he did back in Genesis, which was to make you question and to bring division and to divide what was the promise. And it's still what he's doing today. He wants to divide the body of Christ so that we're not even fighting with the lost people. We're fighting with our brothers and our sisters. And sometimes you just get to a point where you're like, enough. And I kind of feel like that's, as leaders, where we need to be right now. Like, not on my watch, not anymore, because there is the ability to bring resolve. And it's the very essence of who Jesus is. He's restoration and he's redemption. And he desires for his kids to live at peace, with one another.
I think, too, if I could say real quick, Marge, I think to the leader that's sitting there, because I've been in this position for your organization, your church, whatever you're leading is smaller. You're like, if I address that, I can't afford to lose that person, because if I address it, what if they blow? And I would just say the fear of man is a trap. The fear of God leads to life. And it's God that's building his church, and God will sustain it and take care of it. And I know that's easier to say than do. But I've walked that journey when we were smaller of, if I confront this situation, I don't know what the fallout will be from it. But every time when I did what I knew was the right thing, God honored it. God protects his church. God takes care of it. God raises up new people. There may actually be people that you really want on your team that won't come on your team right now because you have a toxic individual on there, and you're dealing with artificial harmony to keep everybody happy. But that one is really costing you some other leaders that would come along on the journey with you.
That's really good. The word that pops up as I'm hearing both of you speak is courage. And I think as leaders, we really need that courage for those challenging and difficult conversations that we need to have sometimes and might be avoiding depending on our personality, preference, experience.
No, I mean,
for sure.
Yeah.
No one loves we get better at it. Right?
What'd you say?
I think as you do those difficult conversations, you start getting better. Like, you start getting more comfortable with, okay, we can do this.
Yeah, for sure.
You definitely become less afraid because you see the benefit on the other side.
Yeah, 100%. I wanna kind of finish off here. And in a moment, I'd love for people to know how they can connect with you guys and with your podcast as well, Daniel, and all the resources that flow from you guys in LifePoint Church. But I'm curious because I know leading together is both fun and challenging, and so I want to hear from you guys. What would you say? And Tammie, I'll go to you. I want you to answer first. What would you say, Tammie, is as a pastor and as a leader? What is the thing that you just love the most about, like that you just feel like, oh, when I'm doing this is my sweet spot. This is what I was built for. I love this part of pastoring and leading.
Do you think you know the answer? I almost feel like it might be more accurate for the spouse to answer, because he would know when I'm alive and when I'm irritated.
We can play that game. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tammie just took over the podcast. Virgil.
Oh, sorry, Virgil.
The very endearing is people say she's the mother of the church in more ways than one. But I think she's really thriving when she's caring in a one-on-one setting with people, when she's loving on people, when she's in a foyer. Literally, I don't know a better conversationalist with brand new people. I don't know a better memory about people and details of their life. Like, hey, remember that family we met 6 months ago at that campus and she was pregnant? I think they just had their child. I saw somewhere, I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, my mind doesn't even process that way. And in that, because that is who she is, has an incredible way of just confronting situations head on, very bold in that. Mm-hmm. But because there's such this care thing, people seem to receive it in a really amazing way.
That's good.
Yeah.
Like,
that's good.
I think I just got in trouble. I do. Thank you.
Now you're supposed to answer for me,
though. Very nice of you. Well, I was saying a sentence. I feel fulfilled in my calling when people feel valued and loved and seen. Yeah. And I have asked the Lord for a very long time to help me remember names, because there is something about when someone says your name.
Oh yeah.
That they see you. And it's only a superpower because the Holy Spirit's given it to me, but I kind of do have a superpower of remembering names, so I'm never going to be forgetting your name, Virgil, from here on out. But it's interesting, though, that some of the most challenging things is also the things you most love, the people, right?
Yeah. What would you say about Pastor Daniel? What do you think is his sweet spot?
You're so amazing. No, I think
such a life-giving podcast.
I know. You can make it this format from now on. You are welcome. Saving marriages, one question at a time.
Yes.
He said it earlier, but a ferocious learner. Like, he is like a sponge. He has his doctorate. He loves to read. He's in the process of writing a book. It's just in him. It's very contagious. But he loves helping people discover their full potential and their purpose. And even being able to train other pastors and leaders. There's a real gift. When he said a few minutes ago, like, he didn't think he could preach every 7 days, you just listen to the man preach. He was clearly created to be a preacher. He has such a gift on his life. And as gifted as he is in that, and as much as he loves specifically LifePoint Church and the Big C Global Church in general, he lights up when he's able to help encourage pastors and leaders and teach from what he's learned, but teach from the Word of God, teach from experience, and kind of be able to see those light bulb moments happen. And those pastors that he's been able to pour into, that come back around and tell him all that God has done, it just is it's just so fulfilling to him. And just training the next generation and leaving a legacy beyond ourselves.
I love it.
Yourself.
You just gave me, Pastor Tammie, the strategy whenever I interview couples like this. That's a very good strategy. I love it. I love it. I love that. And watching from afar, I love hearing this. I love seeing what you guys are sharing. And I think it's important to recognize we're created to do something for the Lord, and we're not equal. We're not created equal. We're different, and we're skilled in different ways, and talented and gifted in different ways. And what a beautiful thing is when it comes together. We're at the end, everybody. We could stay here for a whole another podcast.
I know, right?
Okay, we'll come back.
I want to point people in the direction of learning more about the Floyds and your ministry and your resources and where they can connect and learn more and grow more, where can our AVAIL audience go to get more?
Yeah, danielfloyd.org. And through that, they can connect with social platforms. The Daniel Floyd Leadership Podcast they can connect to through there. We're in the middle of season 3 right now. Comes out every other week. Really love that. That's on all the platforms where people stream podcasts. And then the church is just lifepoint.org. And then if you have students that are feeling a call to ministry, lifepointcollege.org, we would love the opportunity to train them. Or if you're looking to hire, we are all about helping place
trying to raise them up,
well-raised, world-class leaders into the harvest field. So
if you're interested in the family side of things, you can follow me at Tammie M. Floyd, Tammie with an I-E, M. Floyd, on Instagram. It's a lot of, fam stuff.
Yeah, see all the kids.
Hey, people are leaning in. Guys, go to the Daniel Floyd Leadership Podcast. You got to check it out. Lean into that leadership. I love the LifePoint College push, because there's a lot of people that are thinking about, man, I think I want to get equipped and trained for ministry. Check out LifePoint College and of course, Pastor Daniel and Pastor Tammie's social media. I'm going to mention the AVAIL Journal. Everybody, the AVAIL Journal, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the best Christian leadership magazines out there. And one of the most recent editions has a really cool article for those people watching.
That is downtown Fredericksburg as well, our pretty city.
Daniel and Tammie Floyd, Better Together is the article in this AVAIL Journal. If you're not yet subscribed, availjournal.com. You can get a free trial subscription on us. Check it out. You're going to love it. You're going to want to keep it. Resources for leaders are key. Would you agree, Pastor Daniel?
It's everything.
100%.
Yeah.
Hey, I'd love to close off with just one final thought from each of you. One final thought. What do you want to leave on our AVAIL leaders' hearts?
I'll go, yeah. I said it earlier, but it would be my final thought. I would always say is to just stay faithful. Don't quit too soon, and stay faithful to the next right thing that God puts in front of you. And every little thing that you are a part of in your life is about the next step in your walk. So stay faithful. Don't check out. Keep going. You're doing better than you think you are.
Yeah, I would say embrace the process. Embrace the process and dream bigger than what you currently are. Because God can do more than what's in your imagination. So hit the limit of your imagination, and that's where God begins to work.
So good. Stay faithful. Embrace the process. Dream bigger. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Hey, Pastor Daniel, Pastor Tammie, I want to say on behalf of the AVAIL team, Dr. Sam Chan, Martin Ventilborg, everybody who's behind the scenes, you guys know what it is. We just want to say thank you. We honor you. We bless you. We love you. We're thankful for your leadership.
Thank you.
Thanks
love
so
you
much,
all.
Virgil. Honored to
Appreciate
be on.
you.
I hope everybody's enjoyed this. Leaders, a lot of great leadership, encouragement, a lot of wisdom. Maybe you need to reminisce about your journey as well. Maybe you need to tell your spouse what you think he or she is really good at and be encouraged in your leadership journey. Remember, everybody, a new episode pops every single week right here on the AVAIL podcast. I'm your host, Virgil Sierra, lead pastor of LifePoint Church, your host, where we dig deep and talk about the art of leadership right here on AVAIL. Can't wait to catch you next time, everybody, right here on the AVAIL podcast. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the AVAIL podcast with our guests, Daniel and Tammie Floyd. You can connect with Daniel and Tammie on social media and by going to danielfloyd.org. And make sure to check out the Daniel Floyd Leadership Podcast. And if you are or know a student feeling a calling to ministry, check out lifepointcollege.org. For more leadership resources, check us out at theartofleadership.com. And make sure to claim your free trial subscription of the AVAIL Journal at availjournal.com. As always, I'm your AVAIL podcast host, Virgil Sierra. Muchas gracias. Thank you for connecting with us to learn the art of leadership here at the AVAIL podcast.